Hi guys, welcome to this upload for you guys at home. Thank you ever so much for tuning in every time I want to do any videos for you guys at home, and obviously keep subscribing, keep hitting that bell icon so you'll be notified anytime when I do any videos for you guys. Now I know we're pretty much a couple of hours away from AEW Dynamite. I may actually stay up and watch that. The reason why I say may, because obviously got a job interview tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning. But know me, with my sleeping pattern, I'll probably end up staying up and watching it. I'll give you my thoughts and opinions towards that probably in due course tomorrow. Well, at some point, let's just say. Just want to actually say, by the looks of it, I've done 12 tracks now that I've actually put together for my Forbidden Door vlog. Hopefully they will all appear in that vlog, because quite honestly I've written these songs for you guys just as a bit of fun. But end of the day, it covers pretty much everything from obviously the intro to the outro to the when we're sleeping clips. No, I'm not filming me and my mate sleeping. That's just get that out your mind. Yes, you the viewer. I don't mean that. There's actually a video package towards obviously London, whilst we're making out obviously we're dreaming of London and so on. It's something magical, not creepy. I don't fancy sitting there like putting a camera on me. I'm not doing a sleep vlog or a sleep video or a sleep stream. I'm not one of those creepy bastards that basically does that on certain websites. Jesus Christ. You probably get asked for ID for that if I actually put that on my channel. My vlog channel, well, obviously, is on Linktree down below. Please check it out. It's Gavinots Films, or look up Gavinots. If not, just click the Linktree down below. Please do. Obviously, support that channel because that's where I started off on my YouTube life. Obviously, I used to talk about professional wrestling, but I've kept that separate now, and that's why I launched Wrestling Fan Open Mic Night. Now, I just want to say to everyone of you guys is, other than that, that's why this video is kind of a bit late going out to you guys. I do apologise, because I've been working on that and doing finishing touches towards obviously certain songs. I think I've only got one more song maybe to produce, but obviously that's probably when I get back from London, obviously whilst I'm editing the vlog. I'm hoping within a week of Forbidden Door I'll have that. I can't believe that. That's nearly 3 weeks away now, guys. 3 weeks away. And people don't realise how much hard work I put into these vlogs. Because if it takes a year to prepare, when I've actually sorted things out for the intro, but this is the first time I've actually written songs for it. So it's going to be a long one, I know, because it's going to cover like Saturday till Monday, and I'm hoping to capture as much as I can for that vlog for you guys to enjoy. A lot of people have been enjoying my vlogs recently, which I'm grateful for, and I can't thank you enough. So what I want to talk about is AEW. Whilst we're in the same breath, obviously, when I mentioned about Dynamite. Now, the thing is with AEW, I've been an avid fan since day one. I gave that more of my concentration towards obviously my fandom towards professional wrestling, a lot more than WWE, because quite honestly, yes, I gave you my thoughts and opinions last night towards my opinions towards AEW on Unreal. So go check that out, please do. Now, the one thing that I want to actually say to every one of you guys is that with AEW, sometimes it's not in a good spotlight, but as of late, it's been a lot of good, not saying the production, or the wrestlers, or Tony Khan, or John Moxley being the former champion, or just basically in itself has not been in the spotlight towards a lot of people to transition from AEW to WWE. It's not been that easy for a lot of people, which we could totally understand as wrestling fans. You're entitled to your opinions, entitled to your views, and so on. But then there's a lot of people that have actually tuned in for the first time and like took the plunge, if WWE's not giving it. Because quite honestly, I want to say this, and I'll be honest with you, with the stuff with Hulk Hogan didn't help the situation. I feel like Unreal's not helped the situation. What WWE is doing, quite honestly, go check Unreal. Obviously, talk about that. But I just want to say this, right? Hulk Hogan passed away. Yes, he was an influence on a lot of professional wrestlers, but with me, I'm mixed emotions with obviously his passing. I've said this in fact in last night's video, that how to put it, he was like a chalk and cheese sort of thing. They don't go together, but a lot of people have forgiven him, a lot of people haven't. They're entitled to their opinions, and I can understand that. But I just want to say to you guys but I want to be brutally honest with you guys, right? We know Hulk Hogan passed away, but you don't need, fair enough, you've done the tribute on Raw and you've done it on SmackDown, but you could tell a lot of the wrestlers was not happy standing on that stage, which you kind of felt bad for. But then you done one on the same video package you've done on NXT. All the wrestlers was stood in the ring, if I recall, when I actually saw a clip of it. So the thing is with that, it's like, okay, this is an overkill now. What next? You're going to do it on Evolve as well? Quite honestly, because end of the day, Evolve is a part of your product now. You're going to do it on Main Event. I'm not disrespecting the guy. Granted, he did influence a lot of people, but end of the day, it's not just one person that made that. It was just the way he was booked, the way he was handled, and everything. That's why he was a larger-than-life character, and the way he worked. But I just want to say to you guys as well, so I talk about the likes of influencing a lot of wrestlers. You may say that or may not say that, but I give AEW a lot of credit for where it's due when Tony Schiavone on Collision did mention Hulk Hogan to stop all the hate. Hopefully, nope, it didn't. It made it even more worse. Now, everyone loves to nitpick about everything about AEW. Don't get me wrong, I've addressed this situation. They always find new ways to moan about it. Now, I just want to say on a positive light, whilst I'm actually saying on this video that I want AEW Dark to come back. I've actually seen people literally talking about it. Obviously, Tony Khan's not shunned it away from it. And I just want to say to you guys, at home, I want this to come back. The reason why, because end of the day, I love watching what AEW has to offer. Even though I don't get a chance to watch the likes of Collision, it falls on a Saturday night. I feel like that's kind of an awkward, how to put it, an awkward time to air a show for me as a wrestling fan on a Saturday. I'm not a fan of WWE Saturday Main Event. I was as a kid, but not as at the moment, because obviously the commercials they put through the show literally lets it down. Now, when I look at the likes of AEW Dark, I used to watch that religiously. I used to watch every single episode, even Dark Elevation. Right? And this was not a flop idea. I don't know why they actually cancelled doing that sort of show, but I feel like it needs to come back in a bigger way. Not repackaged, rebranded or anything like that. It needs to be a lot bigger than it once was. I feel like when I look at the likes of what you've actually got with the likes of WWE offers Evolve, or you look at the likes of NXT, sort of use the influence from obviously what's working for that and put it into Dark, with their own championship. Before people say AEW with overkills of championships, I don't see that way when it comes to the likes of AEW. I feel like they have plenty of belts, don't get me wrong, or championships, whatever, or straps, whatever you want to class it as. But there's a decent amount where people can enjoy it. And then you look at, that's what I mean, WWE has a lot of them. But I feel like when I look at the likes of Dark, it should have been that sort of format. The thing is, will it go back onto YouTube? I feel like it should go back onto YouTube because it will get those casual fans that want to check out wrestling, because it will give them a lot of benefit of the doubt. I've seen people say, oh, it should be exclusive for HBO Max or something like that. I just feel like, honestly, that wouldn't work because, quite honestly, you're just giving it to the American market. I feel like if you want to market this properly, do it on Netflix. Now, the reason why I say give this the benefit of the doubt, put it back onto YouTube. The reason why, because you get a lot of people tuning into that product. And I feel like, okay, when I look at the way the ever-expanding roster that AEW had, or still has, that we only see certain names, certain things, and this is where AEW could benefit. Because when you look at the likes of Nick Khan claiming he does not shelve wrestlers, he don't keep wrestlers, etc. like that in catering, but we don't see every single roster they actually sign, even though they're signing independent talent yet again. I've seen obviously reports of that, and I'm thinking, oh god, the thing is, you're not structuring your products too much to the right dimension. But then when I look at the way AEW's got a massive roster and they do not use a lot of wrestlers, I feel like the wrestlers they do not use, I feel like they should use them as the faces of Dark. Right, write your own storylines and everything like that. I'm still waiting for what AEW's got planned for Shockwave. Whenever that drops, I do not know, but it may not have gotten a light as the way you would have hoped. But when I look at the way that could benefit with the likes of the rosters you do not use on that product, even though they've got the likes of Ring of Honor, I think buying Ring of Honor was sinking. I do not like saying this, a sinking ship, but they had big names, but wrestling companies nabbed all the big names, and it was like a revolving door all the time. That was the only drawback with Ring of Honor, even though it was a massive product. They lost so many names, the likes of Kevin Steen, El Generico, obviously Tyler Black, Seth Rollins, etc., etc., etc. Even you likes of back in the day when you lost the likes of AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, you literally had those names that built themselves up on the independent circuit, and they made themselves a household name throughout. Obviously, some went through all the companies like TNA, Ring of Honor, from Ring of Honor to TNA to WWE, and obviously AEW. But I feel like there's a lot of roster that we do not see, which kind of excites me to think of the concepts where he's not dropped the idea of bringing Dark back. It needs to be brought back in that capacity. That's why I look at the likes of what AEW has to offer when it comes to the likes of Dark. It needs to be its own NXT, like I've mentioned. It needs to be completely, at least one thing when I say this, I look at the likes of Ring of Honor TV product compared to obviously AEW's own product. It feels different, and at least one thing when Dark was around, that felt different. Even though occasionally you had the odd name or anything like that on that product to give that sort of elevation, no pun intended, towards people to draw to watch that product. They had decent numbers when people watched it, like broadcast, obviously through a live stream, even though they didn't do it live. But I feel like when you look at the likes of Dark, I feel like they need to bring that in a live capacity instead of a recorded capacity, because that would have brought more entity towards the product, and that's what you should do from obviously the likes of that's what you should do from when it comes, if you do bring it back. I feel like where I look at the way it is now, we're literally a day away from the 1st of August, and I feel like you should bring this back from next year. Give your time to, obviously, it takes time, I know, to put on a wrestling show. It takes ages to promote it, but it would have been a big deal if you made it live And that's the only drawback I didn't like about Dynamite. The likes of Dark and Dark Elevation. But it should broadcast live. You should use the wrestlers that you don't usually use, even though you need that odd name from obviously both the main rosters from. Well, technically both have a main roster on the likes of Collision as well as the likes of Dynamite. Like if you want to put them in a main event against a newbie or someone young, or just focus on that product and use the wrestlers you don't already use. The likes of Thunder Rosa, the likes of Britt Baker if she's still around. End of the day, because this might stop the speculations. Oh, this person's leaving to go to WWE, for example. This is such a benefit for the company in itself, and it don't let the wrestlers get ring rusty. At least one thing with the likes of AEW, they started the trend with wrestlers. If they're not used, let them go to independent shows. I know TNA used to do it. WWE never used to do that. If you literally work for WWE, that's all you work for. So I literally look at the way of Dark, and I feel like they could do so much more with this. There was a lot of potential there. Some great wrestlers that have came through there. Yeah, fair enough, they may not be around the company anymore, but you literally look, this could benefit them in a lot of ways. The only drawback is, what night could Dark actually be on? You've already got... You can't do it on a Monday because that'll clash with Raw. You can't do it on a Tuesday because that clashes with... I think that's NXT. Was it TNA? I can't remember which. Wednesday you got someone clashing with. You don't want to clash it on a Saturday because that'll clash it with yourself when you've got Collision. I feel like this... I want to be honest with you. Alright? Here's one for you. Broadcast it on a Sunday. But then again, what else could benefit from this? Broadcast it on a Thursday. Because if you bring it on those two nights, it will give something for the end of the week sort of thing to watch. Or, because quite honestly, you look at the likes of Collision. That was doing so well when it was on back-to-back days. You had obviously football season in the United States, or baseball or whatever got in the way. That's why they moved it to a Thursday night. But I felt like that was more beneficial for a lot of people, other than Collision being on a Saturday night. And that's just me being honest with you. Because, end of the day, it is what it was. It is what it is. And I feel like they will benefit either on one of those nights. Because it'd be an interesting concept if you did do it on the Sunday or the Thursday. It would be a good asset to that. Because if I remember rightly, that used to broadcast on the Tuesday, and then sometimes they had to move it, or it was a special episode before a pay. Okay, tongue tied here. They used to do like a special episode on a Saturday because they didn't want things interfering with their products, which was sensible, don't get me wrong. But they need to really give this a good push, towards like promoting the products and everything like they once did. But please do it live. I know it may be a big ask, but do it live, not pre-taped matches and so on. I feel like it would be such an interesting asset. But then again, the cons with the live, will ticket sales do well? That's the problem. So then you could think of back to square one. Do the tape matches. I'm excited for Tony Khan has not shunned it away from it, but I really want this to come back. And that's just my thoughts and opinions. But anyway, guys, I'm off. Check out my other uploads, obviously, and check out my other social media outlets down below. Please do. Until next time, catch you guys soon.